This is the al-Mandab Strait, a vital artery of global trade. This narrow waterway connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden, funneling around 12% of the world's trade through its waters. This strait is a critical route. We're talking about $1 trillion worth of goods passing through every year. By passing through the Red Sea and into the Suez Canal, ships shave off thousands of nautical miles from their journey, significantly reducing travel time between Asia and Europe. But this critical route has always been a hotbed for piracy. Remember the Saudi oil tanker in 2008? It was hijacked by Somalian pirates in the Red Sea. Another pirate attack occurred in 2011 off the coast of Eritrea in the Red Sea. The ship's security team fired warning flares and shots. After a 30-minute shootout did the pirates retreat. More recently, on August 21st, a Greek oil tanker came under attack by 4 drones launched from the Hodeida port, controlled by the Yemeni Houthis. This isn't the first time they've targeted ships near the al-Mandab Strait either. So, who are the Houthis? The Houthis control most of Yemen, which has been torn apart by civil war for 9 years, causing a massive humanitarian crisis. More than 350,000 people have been killed due to the ongoing conflict and famine. They are a rebel group mainly made up of Zaidi Shias, who used to be the ruling class in Yemen for centuries. But, in the 1960s, a military coup kicked out the last Zaidi ruler, Mohammed al-Badr, and created a new republic in North Yemen. Fast forward to the late 1970s, a guy named Ali Abdullah Saleh, who was part of the revolution, became president of Yemen. Ironically, Saleh was also a Zaidi, but despite that, he continued to sideline and marginalize the Zaidi community. This move only added fuel to the fire, creating more resentment among the Zaidis. In 1990, Saleh made a bold move, reunifying North Yemen with the rest of the country, creating a new chapter in the history of Yemen. But, as the new government was taking shape, a politician named Hussein al-Houthi started stirring things up in the Sada province of North Yemen, where most of the Zaidis lived. He launched the Zaidi movement. Al-Houthi and his crew were fed up with Saleh's policies, but 2 things really got their blood boiling. First, they hated how Saudi Arabia was gaining more and more influence in Yemen, both in terms of religion and money. They saw it as an attempt to erase their Zaidi identity and culture. Second, they were furious when Saleh decided to buddy up with the Americans in the War on Terror in the early 2000s. They saw it as a betrayal and labeled Saleh as a sellout. And so, the Houthis got more aggressive and militarized, both against Saleh's government and the Western alliances it was building. At that time Hussein al-Houthi gave a statement, "We will not see ourselves as puppets of Americans. We will not sit back as the Jews mess around in Muslim countries. We will not stay quiet." In 2004, Saleh's forces tried to take down Hussein al-Houthi, but that move backfired. The attempt to arrest him sparked intense armed clashes, and during one of those battles, Saleh's forces killed al-Houthi. But his death only cemented him as a martyr, fueling the movement he started. His followers became more determined and united, and soon they became known as the Houthis. It was like Saleh's actions poured gasoline on a fire, making it spread even faster. The battle between the Houthi rebels and Saleh's army continued for years, with the Houthis becoming allies with Iran, a Shia-majority country, as part of its axis of resistance. In 2011, the Arab Spring protests swept across the Middle East, and Yemen was no exception. The people had had enough of Saleh's government, which was plagued by massive corruption and poverty. Yemenis took to the streets, demanding change and an end to Saleh's rule. At the same time, there were militant attacks all across Yemen by various militant factions that wanted Saleh out. Eventually, by the end of 2011, Saleh did step down, and an interim government was formed, led by Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi. This new government was basically a puppet regime controlled by the Saudis. The Houthis, in particular, were not happy with this new setup. The new interim president, Hadi, tried to get everything back on track by launching a national dialogue to create a new governance system. The Houthis initially joined the talks, but things quickly went sour. In 2014, they stormed out of the dialogues, claiming their influence was being deliberately undermined, and later that year Hadi's national dialogue completely fell apart due to protests over the prices of fuel. The Houthis saw the chaos as a chance to strike and launched a surprise attack on the capital city. They formed an unlikely alliance with their old arch-nemesis, Ali Abdullah Saleh, the same guy they'd been fighting against for years. They managed to take control of the capital, Sana'a, in September 2014. Thus began the civil war in Yemen. The Houthis kept pushing forward, expanding their territory and taking control of key cities like Hodeida, a crucial port on the Red Sea. This gave them a strategic advantage, allowing them to receive supplies and support from the outside. Meanwhile, President Hadi was forced to flee the country, and in 2015, he ended up in Saudi Arabia, where he set up a government in exile. This left Yemen without a functioning government, bringing Saudi Arabia into the civil war. The Saudi coalition launched a fierce air campaign against Houthi-controlled areas, pounding them with airstrikes and imposing a tight naval blockade in the Red Sea. The goal was clear: to curb Iran's influence in Yemen and cut off the flow of weapons to the Houthis. But despite the relentless bombing, the Houthis refused to back down. In fact, they managed to hold on to the territory they had captured. The Houthis continued their push, taking control of new areas, many of which were populated by people who didn't share their Zaydi beliefs or loyalty. But the Saudi coalition's intervention made things worse, unleashing a wave of heavy bombing that created a massive humanitarian crisis. The situation was further complicated by the Houthis' lack of governance in the areas they controlled, leading to a power vacuum that spread chaos in the region. In 2017, the uneasy alliance between the Houthis and Saleh finally imploded. The two found themselves at odds over who should really be in charge of Yemen. This tension simmered until it finally boiled over, and the Houthis turned on Saleh and killed him. After years of devastating war, which claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands of Yemenis and pushed the country to the brink of famine, the Saudi coalition finally began to scale back its bombing campaign in 2020. They also eased some of the naval blockade in the Red Sea, allowing vital supplies to reach Yemen's starving population. In a glimmer of hope, UN-brokered peace talks between the Saudis and Houthis kicked off in April 2022. And in a recent breakthrough, a deal signed in 2023 paved the way for the reopening of Sana'a Airport and Hodeida Port, allowing Yemen to reconnect with the world and ease the economic stranglehold. But despite this progress, the biggest question remains unanswered: who will lead Yemen? The recent deal didn't address the issue of governance, leaving the country's political future uncertain. Today, the Houthis control much of Yemen, but they're still lacking one crucial thing: international legitimacy. To gain credibility, especially among Muslim states, they're trying to link themselves to the Palestinian cause. They claim to be targeting only ships in the Red Sea that trade with Israel, framing their actions as a resistance against Israeli interests. In November 2023, Houthi spokesperson Yahya Saree said they hijacked a cargo ship in the Red Sea because of Israel's actions in Gaza. He added, "If the world wants peace, they should tell Israel to stop." On May 3, 2024, Yahya Saree gave another statement in his televised speech: "We will target any ships heading to Israeli ports in the Mediterranean Sea in any area we are able to reach." But now, in retaliation, the US-UK coalition has started bombing Houthi-controlled areas, further fueling the humanitarian crisis. Ironically, these air attacks have had an unexpected consequence: they've boosted support for the Houthis among Yemenis. The bombings have galvanized public opinion, with many seeing the Houthis as defenders against foreign aggression. This surge in support could embolden the Houthis, potentially solidifying their grip on power.